Let's take a look at the rate of change indicator. It has a very high win rate and looks well suited for swing trading quality stocks. So this video is based on some work from a popular YouTube channel called seriousbacktester. That channel is no longer available, but I did code it into my own backtester, so this is what we'll be looking at in this video. So what this strategy does is to look for a very large fall and then a bounce. So kind of if you were to throw a bouncing ball on a table, it would just bounce up again. So we're aiming to capture this part. And if you're very observant, you'll notice there's a very similar one here. So we could have had a nice swing trade here again. So what is the system? I'll describe the old system first. This is the original one as described by seriousbacktester. So we're looking for a 20% fall in a quality stock. Remember that stocks almost never go down in a straight line. So we need it to stop falling and consolidate. The daily rate of change must then turn positive. So we will enter a position here and wait for a small bounce to play out. So in the original strategy, the stop loss and sell targets were set using average true range. This is something I don't use. I have changed this so I look for a fixed 5 or 10% profit, normally 5%. So there is a modified system as well, which I've called the new system. This mod was suggested by a YouTube viewer of the original strategy. So again, we're looking for a large fall. So this time we're using standard deviations to measure how big the fall is. This is instead of using a standard 20% fall. So why do we do this? The issue is that some stocks will never fall 20%. Also, small caps will routinely fall a lot more than 20%. ETFs as well, they'll fall a lot less than 20%. It's very rare for a quality ETF to fall that much. So this uses standard deviations and changes the rate of the fall to depend on what stock it's looking at. So if you're interested in coding this into your own backtester, then let me know and I'll make another video about it. So you might want to check out this. This has some code for it and it's github.com/seriousbacktester. This code is for Schwab's ThinkOrSwim trading platform. I'll show that later because I actually opened an account based purely on this indicator. This is not my GitHub. I repeat, this is not my GitHub. So this code here is not mine. So let's look at some example trades. So the first one I showed in the intro is Ferrari. So this is a really classic one. We've seen a large fall, so that was a 22% fall. And then we had a nice bounce. So we waited for it to do a U-turn and start going back up again. And then we captured this bit here, which would have been a 7.36% profit. It might even go up again. But as you can see, if you're hodling here and you set too high a profit target, then you could get burnt. So it's best not to be too greedy on this. This is another good one. So we probably would have entered in on this candle and captured this. Let's look at a couple of trades that I've done recently just to prove that it works. So these are live money trades that I've done. This one is Sunoco Products. So this one had a huge fall. I think this was about 20%. And then we had a bit of a consolidation. And I think I bought here. I might have sold out here actually. So I think I bought on this green candle here. And I made 5%, so not too bad. And another one is Gartner IT company. So this was falling, and then it fell off a cliff. And I think this was a huge drop. I think this could have been about 20% drop as well. So it kind of consolidated, and we'll let the math to work out when it consolidates enough. So I entered here. As I'll show you later, it can be hard to find these trades, so I was a little late to the party here, but luckily I captured a small move. This really was quite a volatile stock, so I think this was just 5%. So it didn't take very long as well. I think it took about 3 or 4 days. So how do we find stocks that are exhibiting this rate of change indicator? The downside is that it's not too easy. I've had a real good bash at it, but I don't know how to find it on TradingView. As I mentioned earlier, there is a GitHub with some code for ThinkOrSwim. This is Schwab's trading platform. So I've been using it for some time, but sometimes the signals are delayed. I'm not sure why. Let's have a little look at Schwab. I'm not really going to mention how to add it to ThinkOrSwim, but once it's set up, you just go to Load Scan, Personal, and it's this one. So you check on here. I will make another video if enough people are interested in it. I'm just using the basic settings that the original author suggested. So here we go. So the good thing is that this is fairly live. Actually, the market's not open at the moment, but let's see which ones are AWK. Let's look at that one. So once you've seen some, you can go to charts and we'll look at AWK. American Waterworks. Okay, so there's also I think I put in some code to display them on the chart as well. It was quite buggy when I added this. So these are the indicators, and you can see it's doing a pretty good job of finding bottoms. What have we got this set on? I don't use this much. So it has put a signal in there. The other one, maybe 131. I think that's profitable. So they do look quite good. Let's go to another one. This comes up with all kinds of stuff, so it's best to screen them out for other fundamentals and things. Let's look at Robert Half. So that's a recruitment company. They've not been doing very well. I'm currently out of work, so the job market's terrible right now. Okay, these haven't worked quite so well, but it's put in plenty of signals. Although, if you'd have bought this one, then you'd have made mega bucks. It went all the way 37,115. That's the mother of all bubbles there. That's done very well. So as you can see, this signal you can sometimes get in right at the bottom of a really nice trend. So where else can you scan for stocks with this signal? I've added it to my own website called BTFDBot.com. Let's take a brief look at it now. So if you go to BTFDBot.com, then the recent buy signals are here. Obviously do some research before you actually buy them. I don't know if we got any rate of change ones. They're called rate of change. Oh, there's one there. Tootsie Roll. Any more? Again, it's not a very common signal. They're not often triggered. That's the only one we've got. So if you go to any of the stock charts on the site and click on rate of change, then you'll see them. Okay, so there's this one here. I need to work on the charts so you can zoom in and out a bit, but you can see that they have all been profitable apart from this one, which went horribly wrong. Although if you'd have held it long enough, then you'd have broken it even again. This one made a profit. I think it's listed down here. So it's already made a 5% profit from this entry point here. And the other ones as well were pretty decent entry points. If you bought this one, you made a ton of money because it went from below 30 all the way to nearly 40. So there aren't many signals for this strategy at the moment. So how about my results? These are the results from my backtester of testing this signal. So I've tried it in various different markets. My data goes back, I have 950 quality stocks, and the data goes back to 1990 for some stocks. So I've tested the whole, this is all of them. So even in all of my data, I have millions of rows of data, so I've only found 12,000 signals, so it's not a very common indicator. But generally the win rate is pretty good. It must be said I have mainly higher quality stocks, not too many small caps and things. But it definitely has a pretty decent win rate. This is for looking for a 5% profit. Not too many have been loss making. About the worst year in history of doing this was in 2007. The win rates there dropped down to 82, which is still pretty good. If you had a proper stop loss system and things, then you'd probably be doing pretty well with this strategy. Look at that, 2009 in the bull market, we didn't have a single theoretical loss, so that was pretty amazing. So how does this strategy compare with the other strategies I've been testing with my backtester? So it's actually pretty good. The win rate is, I think that's the highest. Yeah, that is the highest win rate. This is the old system when it was looking for a 20% drop. And this is the new one when it uses the standard deviation. So although it has a lower win rate, the new system, it actually finds a lot more signals. So it is slightly beating the 52-week lows, which is pretty good strategy, and my strange gap down strategy as well. Okay, let's have a look in Excel and I'll show some of the results and the equity curves from the backtester results. So the first chart we have here is the results of my backtester starting in 2010, going on to the middle of 2025 and simulating buying and selling stocks for a 5% profit each time. So the red line here is the bot results. So obviously we haven't outperformed the Nasdaq, but it hasn't done too badly, although just lately it hasn't done nearly so well. I might have some recency bias in my database because I started buying stocks at 52-week lows and then I put all those in my backtester. So I might have a lot of underperformers in this data. So how about performance by year? It's done okay most years. 2024, I say, was a bit weird. That might be because of my backtesting data. But it's had a positive return in most years. Let's look at UK stocks. It's done pretty well actually. And also my data for UK stocks is actually up to date. So at the time of recording, this is right. So we've had quite a good run. We have easily outperformed the FTSE 100, which is the UK's large caps index, and also the FTSE 250, which is the medium caps. We've had some quite terrible drawdowns, which is an issue, but then again, I'm not using stop losses, so it's not too bad considering. So we are grinding upwards, and let's see, did I do UK chart? Okay, so it has made a profit like just about most years. 2024, again, I don't think 2024 has been very good for value stocks, really. And 2022 we had a big recession, but it was still only down 3%, which wasn't too bad, really. And we had a monster year in 2019. And on to ETFs. So ETFs don't seem to do that well with this strategy. So we have beaten the FTSE 100 and 250, the UK indexes. But we've kind of gone sideways for about 3 years, so for some reason it doesn't work very well with ETFs. So I have one more chart. This is if you buy just the US dividend kings and champions. These are the companies that have increased dividends for 50 years or 25 years in a row. So here is my backtester here. So it's done quite well, comfortably beaten the UK markets. We haven't beaten the S&P, although we weren't underperforming for a little while. We have a nice steady equity curve, not too many downturns apart from COVID. 2022, it didn't do too badly at all, only a little blip. We missed all this. But what's interesting with this is that we've had quite a decent performance, but we have been sitting mostly in cash at some times. So the yellow is the amount of cash, and you see for a little while, for a lot of 2010, we were over 90% cash. So you see the equity curve goes up. This is the average of how much cash we got. So we are about 40% cash, just under 40% cash for most of the duration. So this is a pretty decent performance. And you can see in 2023, for a good part here, we were sitting mostly in cash, simply because there weren't any stocks for my backtester to buy at the time. The problem again with this signal, it's not a very common signal. So it is a pretty decent equity curve. Already my channel viewership seems to be older viewers. I'm certainly getting closer to retirement now, and wealth preservation is a huge thing, so I really don't want huge falls like this. I would rather the money goes up slowly. So I have been testing this for a while now, but I've only found 29 trades. As I say, it's not a very common indicator compared to all the others. So the percent profitable is quite low, although the average profit is quite high. As I said again, this is definitely a work in progress. What is interesting is that the profits are appearing quite quickly, much quicker than the 52-week lows. So this technique does look quite promising for this. The CAGR as a result is quite good. That's the second best one now. I may be late to enter the rate of change live trades. That's one problem that could be reducing the number of profitable ones in real life. The problem is that ThinkOrSwim does seem to be showing the alerts a bit slow sometimes, so for some reason they'll pop up but several days after they've actually occurred. I'm not too sure why that is. So rate of change is a really interesting indicator with apparently a really high win rate. Unfortunately, it can be difficult to find stocks that meet the entry signal criteria. So once again, the backtest results are on BTFDBot.com. So I hope you found it interesting. Thanks for watching.